8 years ago in Germany, Kiritsugu Emiya and his wife Iris Veal von Einsborn welcome the birth of their daughter Elise Veal. Though Kiritsugu fears he will lead Iris Veal to her death in the upcoming Fourth Holy Grail War, she assures him that he is a good man who will fulfill their ideals. 3 years ago, the priest Kire Kataman learns that he has been chosen as a participant for the Holy Grail War. Kire's father Rizai Kataman, the war's moderator on behalf of the Church of the Eighth Sacrament, and Tokiomi Tasaka, another participant, arrange for Kire to become Tokiomi's pupil in magecraft in order to give Tokiomi an advantage and help Kire get over the death of his wife. 1 year ago in Fuyuki City, Kariyamatu visits his childhood friend Aoi Tasaka and her daughters, Rin and Sakura. Karyu is shocked to learn that Sakura has been adopted by the Matu family to be an heir who can use magic, and he is horrified to discover what has been done to her. Confronting his father Zukan Matu, Karyu strikes a deal to implant himself with parasitic worms that will give him the magic needed to participate in the upcoming war. If he wins the Grail, Sakura will be freed and returned to her family. In the present, Kainathel Malloy Archibald dismisses and humiliates one of his students named Waver Velvet, who theorizes anyone can be a great mage by hard work and practice, rather than by virtue of their bloodline alone. Waver decides to prove his teacher wrong by stealing Kainath's artifact, which is needed to summon a servant in order to join the war himself. As Kire, who has now summoned his servant assassin Hasan Isaba, and Kiritsugu learn of each other's skills, they are disturbed by how they cannot know what the other man's goals for the war are. After receiving the scabbard of the sword Excalibur, Iris Veal is hopeful that they can summon Saber Arthur Pendragon, but Kiritsugu worries that Arthur's chivalry will clash with his pragmatic methods. As Kiritsugu, Tokiomi, Kariya, and Waver each summon their servants, Kiritsugu and Iris Veal are stunned to see that the summoned Saber is actually a woman. Waver has a hard time commanding his servant Ryder Iskander, as Ryder is more interested in how the world has changed since his time and intends to conquer it once he wins the war. Saber has formed a poor opinion of Kiritsugu, considering him cold-hearted, but is surprised to see him have a tender moment with his daughter Ilia. Saber also admits she admires Kiritsugu and Iris Veal's wishes to save the world, as she also wishes to save Britain. In Fuyuki City, serial killer Ryonosuke Iryu has murdered an entire family except a young boy to summon a demon, but inadvertently calls the servant caster Gield Race. When Iryu offers the boy to Caster as a sacrifice, Caster pretends to let him go, then kills him with a horrific Cthulhu-esque monster. Iryu, overjoyed to meet someone as sadistic as him, vows to follow Caster anywhere and becomes his master. Upon learning that the 7th and final master has been chosen, Kire orders Assassin to kill Tokiomi, only for Assassin to be killed by Tokiomi's servant archer Gilgamesh, while attempting to break into his mansion. Kire announces his resignation from the war due to Assassin's elimination and is granted asylum by Rizai. However, this is actually a ruse by Kire, Rizai, and Tokiomi, as Assassin is not just one person, but several dozen people. With everyone else believing him out of the game, Kire can send the assassins to spy on them without suspicion. Waver informs Ryder of Assassin's demise, but the latter is only interested of defeating President Clinton, acquiring his country's military weapons, and having a good time. Iris Veal and Saber arrive at Fuyuki City to meet up with Kiritsugu, but decide to tour the city since this is Iris Veal's first time abroad. Meanwhile, Kiritsugu meets up with his assistant Maya Hisao, who informs him that the other masters believe Iris Veal is Saber's master and that she has smuggled in the guns they need for the war, including his contender pistol. As Iris Veal has a good time at the beach come nightfall, Saber detects another servant at the harbor. Once there, they encounter Lancer Diarmuiduadun, who challenges Saber to a duel. Saber and Lancer fight while complimenting each other on their skills and chivalry. At the same time, Kiritsugu and Maya are scouting the battle, with Kiritsugu spotting Lancer's hidden master. As he is about to snipe him, Kiritsugu spots Assassin, who is relaying the battle to Kire and Tokiomi. Lancer's master orders him to use his noble phantasms called Gai Diog, the long red spear that cancels any magic, and Gaibid, the short yellow spear that inflicts wounds that cannot be healed. From these, Saber recognizes Lancer's identity, while Lancer discovers Saber's identity after using Guideog to temporarily dispel the invisibility spell on her sword Excalibur. Saber, whose left arm tendon was wounded by Lancer's Guidebid, is about to give it her all when Waver and Ryder, who were watching the battle from afar, suddenly ride down to the harbor on Ryder's Gordius wheel chariot, interrupting the battle. Ryder introduces himself to Saber and Lancer, asking them to join his army, but they both decline the offer. Kenneth reveals himself as Lancer's master and mocks Waver, but Ryder defends him. Soon after, Archer joins the battle against Berserker, Kyria's servant, who uses a noble phantasm called For Someone's Glory, a black fog that envelops him and prevents all attempts at gauging his strength. Archer attacks Berserker with his noble phantasm called Gate of Babylon, transforming his sword into a key to unlock a special vault containing a vast number of weapons, but Berserker keeps evading and using Archer's weapons against him. To prevent Archer from exposing his noble phantasm further, Tokiomi expends a command seal to order him to withdraw from the battle, much to Archer's displeasure. Upon seeing Saber, Berserker attacks her, revealing his second noble phantasm called Knight of Honor, the ability to turn anything he wields into a noble phantasm. Lancer defends Saber out of chivalry, but Kenneth uses a command seal to force him to assist Berserker and kill Saber. However, Ryder intervenes and incapacitates Berserker, who retreats and warns Kenneth to withdraw or else he will side with Saber and defeat Lancer. After Kenneth and a grateful Lancer retreat, Ryder tells Saber he will not fight her or Lancer until their duel is finished. Elsewhere, Castor watches the battle through a crystal ball and thinks Saber is his long-lost love, while Kyrie discovers that the church was being spied on by a familiar. Irisveil and Saber are driving to the Einsburn castle when they encounter Castor, who believes Saber is Jeanne d'Arc, but Saber tells him he is mistaken and drives him away. Returning to his lair, Castor is convinced that Jeanne has lost her memories. At his hotel, Kenneth scolds Lancer for failing to kill Saber. Lancer is defended by Soleil Ainu Abere Sofieri, Kenneth's fiancée, who is maintaining Lancer's existence by supplying him with mana and has fallen for him due to the beauty mark under his right eye. When the hotel's occupants are ordered to evacuate due to possible arson, Kenneth realizes Saber's master has come for them. After making sure all civilians have evacuated, Kiritsugu and Maya blow up the hotel using explosives. Maya is found by Kirei, but escapes thanks to Kiritsugu's smoke bomb. When the assassins inform Kirei, Rizai, and Tokiomi that Castor and Yiryu have been kidnapping and sacrificing children, Rizai is disgusted by their pointless murders and their jeopardizing the war's secrecy. In a meeting between Archer and Kirei, the former convinces the latter to spy on the other masters and find out what drives them in order to discover his own desires. Rizai informs all the active masters that the war is to be put on hold until Castor, whose killings of children are attracting public attention, is destroyed, with an additional command seal as a reward. At the Einsburn castle, Kiritsugu plans to use the hunt for Castor to attack the other masters, despite Saber's protests that they should give priority to stopping Castor's atrocities. As Kiritsugu confides in Irisveil that he would rather escape with her and their daughter and live in peace somewhere, Irisveil detects Castor arriving from the forest with more children to be sacrificed and sends Saber after him. Saber is ambushed and cornered by Castor's noble phantasm called Prelati's Spellbook, which enables him to summon monsters until Lancer appears and joins forces with her. As Irisveil and Maya leave the castle, Kenneth, who had survived the hotel bombing thanks to his Volumenhydragium, a giant magical blob of mercury, infiltrates the castle to duel Kiritsugu, who evades Kenneth by using his Calico M950 and launches a surprise attack with his contender pistol. Irisveil and Maya are about to escape through the woods until Irisveil detects Kirei coming their way. Instead of evading him, Irisveil and Maya decide to confront him in order to protect Kiritsugu. However, both of them are outmatched. Meanwhile, Kiritsugu is able to wound Kaneth with his contender pistol. Believing the attack was a fluke, Kaneth decides to increase the defense of his volumen hydragium even further. Saber and Lancer continue fighting Castor's waves of demonic creatures, which prove limitless due to his noble phantasm, his grimoire. Saber manages to clear a path for Lancer, who pierces Castor's grimoire with Gaidiog, cutting off his source of mana and instantly destroying his minions, causing him to flee. After hiding from an enraged and injured Kaneth, Kiritsugu finally appears and shoots him with his contender again. Because the contender uses special anti-magic bullets, Kaneth's volumen hydragium not only fails to protect him, but amplifies his injury significantly, causing him to fall unconscious in a pool of his own blood. Lancer arrives to save his unconscious master, while Saber rushes to save Irisveil from Kirei. As Kirei interrogates Irisveil about Kiritsugu, an assassin informs him of Saber's approach, leading him to stab Irisveil before fleeing. Irisveil survives thanks to Saber's magical healing scabbard Avalon implanted inside her, and goes on to heal Maya. Kaneth wakes up with his body tied to a bed. Sola tells Kaneth that his magic circuits inside his body were destroyed by Kiritsugu's bullets, and he can never use magic again. She offers to become Lancer's new master, but realizing that it's because Sola UI has feelings for Lancer, Kaneth refuses. He eventually concedes after Sola UI begins to break his fingers in retaliation and relinquishes Lancer's command seals to her. Despite Sola UI becoming his new master, Lancer wishes to remain loyal to Kaneth, but Sola UI convinces him to keep fighting with her, using Kaneth's honor as a pretext. Kiritsugu decides to hunt Kaneth down despite Irisveil and Saber's wishes to stop Castor. Meanwhile, Waver and Ryder manage to find Castor's lair, where they are horrified to see the mutilated bodies of his victims. Before setting Castor's lair on fire, Ryder kills an assassin targeting Waver and drives off two more. With Waver and Ryder now knowing their secret, Tokiomi orders Kirei to send his assassins to spy on them. This episode focuses on Rin, who is Tokiomi's daughter, and her involvement in the Fuyuki City kidnappings. Despite her young age, Rin is determined to follow in her father's footsteps as a great mage. With the Holy Grail War starting soon, Tokiomi sends Aoi and Rin away for their own safety. At Rin's new school, several children, including her best friend Kodon, have been kidnapped by the Fuyuki serial killer, later revealed to be Yuryu. Wishing to save Kodon, Rin heads to Fuyuki City alone. Using a mana detector gifted to her by her father, she eventually finds Yuryu using a magic bracelet to hypnotize children. Rin follows Yuryu to his hideout, where she is found by him. Rin overloads Yuryu's bracelet with mana to destroy it, incapacitating him and freeing the children from his control. With everyone safe, Rin heads home only to be ambushed by one of Castor's monsters. However, Kirei comes to her rescue and later hands her to Aoi. Kirei, who had been spying on them through Assassin, orders his servant to continue monitoring Kirei. Saber is surprised by the sudden arrival of Waver and Ryder at the Einsburn castle. Ryder declares his intention to have a peaceful discussion with her and Archer on the subject of kingship and the wishes they want the Grail to grant. Archer wants it merely so that people can't steal it from him, while Ryder wants it in order to be reincarnated and get his dream of world conquest. Saber argues that a king should serve his people selflessly and wishes to use the Grail's power to save Britain. Ryder criticizes her, saying that Saber's emotional distance from her subjects led to their dissatisfaction, and proposes his own ideal, namely that people should serve the king, whose extravagant ambitions inspire them in turn. Their talk is interrupted by the arrival of the assassins. When they rebuff Ryder's offer to join the feast, Ryder summons his noble phantasm called Dionian Heteroi, composed of the vast number of loyal soldiers who also became servants after their deaths. Ryder and his army easily decimate every single assassin. With their meeting over, Ryder tells Saber that he no longer recognizes her as a king and departs. A conflicted Saber reveals to Irisveil that one of her knights, Tristan, left Camelot because he was dissatisfied with Hyrule. Thanks to the information provided by the assassins before their annihilation, Tokiomi and Kirei now know about Ryder's noble phantasm and decide to let him attack the other servants first before engaging him. While Maya transports Irisveal and Saber to their new base of operations, Kiritsugu reviews his intel about the other participants' whereabouts. At their new base, Saber points out Irisveal's odd behavior, which forces her to admit that her powers have weakened. Archer questions Kirei about what he learned by spying on the other masters and points out that Kirei has shown an unusual degree of interest in Kariya, despite the minimal threat he poses. From this, Archer concludes that Kirei enjoys seeing the pain and suffering of others. Though initially reluctant to acknowledge his dark nature, Kirei eventually gives in, at which point the command seals reappear on his hand, signifying that he is still meant to be a contestant. Since he currently has no servant, however, Archer hints that he should kill another master and take control of their servant. Yuryu and Castor return to their lair and are dismayed to see their artwork destroyed by Ryder's fire. Yuryu cheers Castor up by sharing his twisted view that God, whom Castor hates the most for Jean's death, is just a spectator who enjoys seeing humans do whatever they want. Impressed by his master's beliefs, Castor plans a grand spectacle for God to look upon. Meanwhile, Waver has second thoughts about whether he is a worthy master for Ryder, but Ryder encourages him to believe in himself. Suddenly, Waver, Ryder, Irisveal, and Saber sense magic from the Mayan River. When they arrive, they witness Castor summoning a giant demonic monster. Ryder informs the other contestants and they all agree on a temporary alliance to stop Castor before his monster destroys the city. With Ryder leading the vanguard, Saber joins him to give Lancer an opening to use his spears on Castor. And that's it for this video, guys. If you want part 2, don't forget to comment down below, and also don't forget to subscribe for future videos. See you!